Welcome to this episode of What We Cook. I'm Tiff.
I'm Kate.
And today we are doing a cheesy treat just for you. This is not your ordinary queso. It is a special restaurant quality cheese dip.
And while she's working on that, I'll be working on some chips because you know chips and queso are the perfect match, and I think we are too.
Stay tuned. Chips and queso, all made in your home kitchen, and we're gonna show you how it's done. We're gonna start with the queso, and we load it up with the veggies. We've got a couple of poblanos. We've got some cute miniature baby red bell peppers, some Roma tomatoes, some cloves of garlic, jalapeno if you want a little spice, and some cilantro. So we're gonna get together and put those together. So Caitlin's gonna get started on the homemade tortilla chips. They're baked, not fried, that's the bonus. And I'm gonna get these veggies prepped for the queso.
So we've got some corn tortillas, a couple seasonings, and some spray olive oil, and that is it. So we got 2 pans out. We're gonna do about 5 tortillas per pan. So I'll get these onto the pan.
And while she's doing that, I'm just giving these veggies kind of a rough chop. I like my queso with some good chunks of veggies in, and of course once the veggies are actually in the cheese and melding during the entire day in your crock pot or heating up however they are, they're gonna wilt down a little bit, but I still like to have a nice good size of veggie. So rough chop on these.
Yeah, chunky queso I think is delicious. So what I'm doing here, I'm just doing a very lightly spray to both sides of the tortillas. Got that pan done, and this one. I've also have the oven preheated to 375. Doesn't matter what corn tortillas you use. If you've got a preferred brand you like, that's fine. I have discovered that some brands cook differently than others, so cook time might vary just a little bit. Just gonna take a sharp knife. I've got them piled up, stacked up. Just gonna cut them down the middle. Stack those on top of each other.
These are so super easy to do. It's like, why not make your own tortilla chips?
Oh, for sure.
And once you've tried this queso, yeah, you may not be ordering out for a cheese dip. You're definitely gonna get rid of that canned version. Not gonna name any brand names, but you know what I'm talking about. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a time and place for that type of queso. I mean, if you're in a really big pinch and you want some queso and you've got the canned diced tomatoes and peppers, then, you know, of course. But when you have a little extra time and you really want to impress, you cannot go wrong with this version. I mean, it is probably a contender among some of the best restaurant quality queso you can find. So I'm continuing to chop my peppers, and again, my mini red bell peppers. Caitlin came home with these. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with that?
I said, oh, they're so cute though.
They're cute, that's for sure, but a little smaller to deal with, but that's okay. You know, I'm versatile, flexible.
Also, the red bell peppers, they weren't that pretty, and I thought the price was pretty high. And comparable, I thought the whole bag of mini peppers was a much better deal, so I thought I was being thrifty.
Yeah, Caitlin is a value shopper, and Caitlin is also a better veggie chopper, so don't judge my skills, you know. But like I said, it's still gonna taste great. Caitlin has never complained about the taste of my queso.
No. And I don't see that I ever will.
No.
So, yeah, just laying these out. Gonna have to scooch them a little tighter, but don't overlap them. But I wanna get them all on the pan, so. Usually about 5 tortillas is about how many I can get onto one pan. So once these are all lined up, I'm gonna season it. So I need to make room for this one last chip. Well, it's not a chip yet, but it will be. All right, got that pan done. Do this next pan.
And let me talk a little bit about what I'm doing. So I have my poblano and my red bell pepper already diced up, and now I'm gonna take some garlic. Again, we like garlic in our house, so I've got 6 cloves. You can do more or less, or you can completely leave out the garlic if you don't want to do that. But I'm also gonna give my garlic a rough chop and combine it with my peppers, and I'm gonna give these a saute. Meanwhile, I have my tomatoes and my jalapeno and my cilantro. I like to put these in once all the cheese and these peppers are combined. So, these are gonna hang out just for a little bit more. Just wanted to let you know what I was doing with my process over here. So I'm not forgetting about the tomatoes and jalapeno. I'm just gonna do those last because I think they're better in the queso when they're fresh and they don't need the saute, but I like the saute of the poblano, bell pepper, and garlic together to bring out those flavors.
And if you're an onion fan,
yeah,
use some onion too.
I'm not an onion fan, but I have done onion in this, and I would give that a really good saute if I were using onion. The onions would probably already be on the stove getting clear and translucent. I don't like raw onions, but if they're cooked pretty well, if they're in a salsa and they're kind of hidden by all the other flavors, then that's okay with me. But we just typically, just because I don't eat raw onion, it would just go to waste otherwise in this house.
All right, so we got them all laid out. I'm just gonna do a light seasoning of some smoked paprika.
And a pro tip also, you can season those chips however you want. You can also cut them into strips like Fritos, and they make a great accentuation to chili. Of course, we're coming into the summer months, so we may not be doing chili for you guys for a while, but it's a very versatile tortilla chip or Frito, homemade Frito version recipe. So
also some garlic salt, because you all know we love garlic salt. We can do the same method, but keep the tortillas round, and that would make a fantastic chalupa shell as well.
Yes.
So we've done that a time or two, I'd have to say, in this household, and it's delish.
All
so
right. You're prepped.
I'm prepped.
And I am prepped. Wow, that worked out perfectly. We did not rehearse.
Perfect.
Exactly.
There it is,
Perfect match. So poblano, bell pepper, and garlic about to go into saute.
That looks beautiful already.
It does. Like a nice little cornucopia of color, just nice and festive, kind of like Mexican flag-ish. And of course, we're making queso, so very appropriate. And Caitlin's chips are ready, so they're gonna go in the oven, and we're gonna get the saute going here for these veggies.
Into the oven for about 12 minutes at 375.
One more thing that does need to be prepped are the jalapeno and tomatoes, and I am in the process of dicing up the tomatoes now. And one key tip as far as the tomatoes are concerned is you want to remove the innards. You don't want the wet mushiness of it. That's just gonna make your queso real runny, and you don't wanna do that. The jalapeno is also diced up. I like it a little spicy, so I did half of the jalapeno seeded and half of the jalapeno with seeds. And again, a chunky dice on the jalapeno and tomatoes. And these are gonna be reserved because they're gonna be going in last without the saute. Also, we're gonna go ahead and prep our cheese here. I'm just gonna break right into it. I'm just gonna cut this into chunks also. It's better if you can cut it into chunks because it'll melt faster and mix in with your sauteed veggies a little easier. So I'm gonna get these all sliced up, and I'm gonna give it another chop down the middle. The cheese is all chunked up, as are our tomatoes and jalapenos. And now we're ready to put this all together. As promised, time to saute our vegetables. I'm gonna put a couple tablespoons of olive oil into this preheated pot and give that a little time to warm. So our olive oil is heated up. Now it's time for the veggies that we're gonna saute. Again, poblano, red bell pepper, and some garlic. Gonna go in and get a nice sizzle. Love that sound. You don't need to saute them too long, just long enough to soften up. About a couple tablespoons of olive oil in here, give it a stir. You can already smell the fragrance of the garlic coming through. So we're gonna let this hang out over medium heat. Keep an eye on it, probably for a couple minutes. Make sure to pay attention to the garlic. You do not want the garlic to overcook. So just continue to give it a stir as the rest of your veggies saute. So this has been 2 or 3 minutes. As you can see, there's a nice little saute on the veggies here in the saucepan, and the garlic is getting a little translucent, and all of the flavors, if you were standing in our kitchen, you would be just salivating over what was to come. So we're gonna turn that down to low. And the next thing we're gonna do is start adding the cheese, but you don't wanna put it all in because you wanna make sure that you blend it up with the veggies. Get a nice slow melt going. Work it in. Just work it in bits. Cheese starting to melt down. Doesn't have to be completely melted before you add your next round.
Between the smells of the makings of this queso and the chips baking in the oven, I am salivating. I cannot wait for this all to come together.
Keep throwing in more cheese. Getting that perfect melt, and you can see this is going to be some chunky, yummy queso. But, you know, season to preference. If you don't like the chunkiness of the veggies, you can cut them smaller, dice them smaller, but don't skimp. Bell pepper, poblano, garlic. Here in a moment, we're going to add the stars of the show. Of course, you gotta have tomato, diced tomatoes, and jalapenos, but it's not out of a can, folks. Not in this kitchen. All right, so we got low heat, and that is coming together. Cheesy goodness. The cheese is just about completely melted, a few little large chunks, and that's why I like to dice it up, just so it melts better and you're not waiting around for large pieces to combine. Look at that color. Look at all those veggies. All right, so now it looks like everything's melted. Time to add the diced jalapeno and diced tomato. And remember, we removed the innards from the tomatoes because we don't want to water down our queso. I left half of the seeds in one jalapeno and half the other removed the seeds. So they're gonna go in. I'm getting a good whiff of these tortilla chips that only have a couple more minutes left. I'll stir in your tomatoes and jalapenos. This is some good looking queso. And let that just hang out for a little bit. All the flavors coming together. And we also like to top ours with some cilantro. And these are just pricked right off the stems. Throw it in there. Just an easy stir to combine. And it does not need to stay on the stove any longer. In fact, my recommendation and what we'll do is we'll put this in the crock pot, in a small crock pot, let it hang out for the rest of the day. Whenever you're ready, you can serve it up. It'll be nice and warm and loaded with flavor.
Our tortilla chips have been baking for 12 minutes. We're gonna go ahead and pull these out. Yeah, those look good. Our chips have been sitting on the counter on the pan for about a minute or so. This is gonna help them harden. No need putting them on a cooling rack or anything like that. Leave them on the pan, that's fine.
Because you're gonna dig right into them anyway.
Just like we're about to.
Yeah, speaking of digging in, our queso is in the slow cooker. I've got them on high right now as it just came off the stove, but you probably wanna keep it on warm or low if it's gonna stay there during the day. And chips.
I'm just gonna grab them.
Go for it.
Look at how these turned out. They're nice, and they got
baked, not fried, and very crispy chips go into very chunky queso.
All right. Oh, that looks
Look
good.
at all that. Look at that.
Ooh, I'm gonna catch that.
You got it.
All right. Let me get a little bit too. Been waiting for this.
Here we go. Cheers.
Yeah, perfect match right there.
Love the texture of the veggies, the garlic in there, and so much flavor. And it only gets better as the day goes on. So leave it in your slow cooker, just let it meld and enjoy with your homemade chips and queso.
Give it a try, you're not gonna disappoint.
For Kate, I'm Tiff. Thanks for watching What We Cook with Love from our kitchen to yours. Have a great day.
Thank you.